Yo, what's poppin'? All my peeps. It is I, your host with the most Renaissance man who always thinks he can, and champion of the peeps, Patty Pitts, back in the yard of streams for another SmackDown breakdown, part of Pitts and Sara's wrestling show, where we take no nights off. And by we, I mean me and the best of the West you can't forget about. Sara Marshall, what's poppin', girl?
Hey, yo.
Hello. Why did it cut off? It ended.
Cut off, really?
It ended quickly.
It did end quickly a little bit.
That's very rude.
It was very rude of Razor. Bernard's here. One of the peeps is here on a Sunday. That's the thing, Sara. My week has been so effed up and crazy that I just honestly, and also to my work schedule, working Tuesday to Saturday, Sundays become Saturdays essentially in the month. And so I just am happy that I remembered it's a Sunday. It's a beautiful day. It's actually sunny outside and not downpouring like it was yesterday. Holy shit, I could have a whole episode
I wish
about
it would
that.
rain here.
Yeah, you guys need rain more than we do. I will really give you that.
Yes.
You definitely need it. But we were hanging at the pool. We're good. So, and because of a busy weekend and because of a great weekend, I mean, let's just wrestling's on top. All right. Collision, which I didn't see last night. I have to watch that as I rest up tonight. And then we have to talk about SmackDown too, which was a really good SmackDown, Sara, from not only what we saw, but what the peeps are saying on Twitter or X.
Ugh.
Tweet Generation X.
It's so
that
dumb.
was pretty good.
I don't understand how you can change a platform's name when it's trademarked by other companies, but I don't.
And made into a verb. A word literally made into a verb. That's probably I would bet actually my savings that it's in the Merriam-Webster dictionary, the verb tweet. So yeah, I don't know what he's doing. I don't really care. I'm just gonna use the platform like I usually do. I don't really care what the name of it is, but yeah. So, but it was a crazy week, and I think it was a really good episode of SmackDown.
Yeah, should we just jump into it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if that's what you were setting up. So
no, whatever else you want to open the show with, whatever's on your mind. If you want to do a little peaks and pits before we talk about this weird number one contenders match for the U.S. title, what's your highs, your lows. But if you want to go right into it, let's go. Let's ride.
Yes.
That's right, Sara.
So we know that the U.S. title number one contender of the U.S. Championship, what was it called?
The U.S.
Invitational.
U.S. Championship Invitational.
Yes. So we knew that this was going to be happening. Rey Mysterio and Santos Escobar. And we were actually really excited about this, more so than what the potential match would be with Austin Theory. And I'm a little disappointed in this match, honestly. Before even getting to the fact that we know Rey Mysterio was legitimately injured, it was just a very slow match. And to me, it felt like they really didn't have a lot of chemistry in the ring, which to an extent I get. I don't know how much experience they have wrestling each other. I don't know if they have
that, or do you think it was because they were trying to build and give the match a lot more time, so they were going slow? Because I've seen that happen in Limitless and other indie in-house whatever promotions where the match just seems so slow at first, and then 5 minutes into it, it's back and forth, hardcore, back and forth action. So it could have been leading to that, especially with how the lucha style is.
Yeah, I think it was a combination of just unfamiliarity of working against each other because they've been working with each other. On top of, I think it was supposed to play into the story of, like what we talked about last week, where it was going to be kind of like a passing of the torch, but kind of like who's the better man type of thing. So I think it made sense in that regard, that it was like they were just trying to do all of their stuff against each other and like kind of trying to one up the other one. So it just started really slow. And then I think because of Ray getting injured, it just made it feel more awkward because we never got to like the high point of the match, you know, where we would have seen it go more back and forth and get more exciting. So most people think that the injury came on the suicide dive. There's rumors out there that it actually happened before that and that he did the suicide dive thing, Ray, I mean, as a way of kind of like getting closer to ending the match. I don't know. This is just what the rumor is, but Santos wins, which we knew was going to happen. We predicted that.
We knew it was going to happen anyway.
Yeah. So obviously he wins because they had to call off the match. So my main takeaway is obviously, I'm sure you could agree. Hopefully Ray is okay. And
obviously.
two, I kind of wish that we could have seen how the match was actually supposed to go. I'm bummed that we'll never really know how it was supposed to go and how it was supposed to end and whatnot.
Yeah, that's where my mind goes because the lucha style of wrestling is so entertaining to watch. You know, if you aren't trying to predict the winner or, you know, oh, they're going to do this and this can happen. And you just watch it like you're watching, you know, anything. It's unreal to watch how they do things and how the style and pace of the match is so different. That's what I feel that they're doing with the LWO. And they're putting these two guys in that situation, we'd say, to not for the US title, but they're doing it to kind of put them weirdly over in a way so people can kind of get behind them that, oh, they're not just different because they're the LWO, but they're different because look at how they wrestle.
Yeah.
So, you know, and that would have been a great way to highlight that. The problem is that when you do have, you know, have an injury like that, especially the stage of where Ray is in his career, you kind of just got to call it. And especially with everyone and their mother knowing that Santos Escobar was going to win that match, just call it. You know, there's a lot more you can do within a show and give more people time or even extend some other segments that wouldn't have gotten much time. So it sucks that it happened. And I'm not going to lie. I really am like whatever and not that upset because it has nothing to do with LA Knight. We thought he'd be in the US title and just take it off. So if he's not in this segment, I'm just going to take it for what it is and, you know, kind of be on their side. Like, okay, yay.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this wasn't something that we were overly thrilled about anyway.
Yeah.
And that's why I felt like it wasn't the best decision to have Santos, only because I feel like it's a collective feeling that there just aren't that many people super invested in Theory or Santos taking the title off Theory. I mean, I think most people are going to be excited to see the title change hands because we know that Theory is not living his best life right now as US champion. So there definitely needs to be a change for him. But I don't, like I said last week, I'm just not sure that there's enough excitement behind Santos for people to be really, really looking forward to this match happening at some point. So it kind of sucks for him too that this is how the match ended, because I think if it had been able to go according to plan, there might have been a little bit more excitement behind it, but it ended so awkwardly because of the circumstances that it's kind of just like, okay, you know, like,
yeah, exactly.
Whatever. Did you really just text me back?
Yeah, I do that. I do it to everyone.
Oh my God.
It's a little thing the clock tower and I do.
My mom does that. Like, I'll be like, Mom, I texted you, and she'll be sitting in the living room, like, I'll be at the kitchen table, and she's like in the living room, because it's just one big room.
Yeah.
And she'll text me back, and I'm like, did you seriously just text me back? And she's like, yeah, I didn't want you to think I wasn't going to answer. I'm like, you could have just told me. I'm right here. Like, you could have just said, answered the question. I
really just wanted a reaction. I'm not gonna lie. I really just wanted a reaction to that.
Oh,
so thank you for giving the champ what he needs.
So speaking of Theory, what I thought was hilarious was, you know, we talked about how he wasn't so good when he was put on commentary 2 weeks ago.
Terrible.
And last week they took him off commentary, but had him on at sitting next to the announcer's desk.
ringside.
And this week they were like, you know what? That's not far enough. We need to put you like out of camera range for the most part. So we're going to put you all the way up in this box suite and you're going to be sitting with all your friends, which, Michael Cole said.
That was so funny. Michael Cole just
chomp on some popcorn and, whatever. I was like, what's going on here? I don't know. I thought it was kind of interesting because we were laughing about, we were like, okay, this has to have been a calculated move to get him off commentary. And I'm like, oh, they're like, that's not good enough. You need to be even further away. Poor Theory.
What do you think about the people that do, or not the people, but what do you think of the Skybox camera shot, or where guys watch it from? Like, we'll say the spot, but I don't want to call it like a spot. You know what I mean?
It's whatever, I guess. I feel like it would be more interesting if they had them watching from the back, because that's more likely what is actually happening in reality. Most of the it's not like throughout the show there are wrestlers sitting up in the skybox watching, even if they had no investment into whatever's happening. So it's not like common that they're like, oh yeah, Theory is out for this match specifically, but they're just sitting up there anyway. Like, why not just have them in the back, like what we've seen other wrestlers do? I mean, even Roman has done that recently. So
I'm a big fan of it only if you have the skybox filled with other, we'll say, people, but have them be, the filler wrestlers or whatever in the skybox to make it seem like you're in a skybox of fans,
right?
And you're within the fans and you're part of the crowd. Like, there's such a better way to do it. If you have it alone, to me, it just gives like very dark villain vibes every time.
Well, it also kind of makes it look like, oh, you didn't sell it out. You didn't sell the arena out.
That is true. I didn't even think of it from that standpoint, but yeah,
I did. But I mean, they've been selling shows out, so I'm not like, oh,
that's why that's why my mind doesn't.
Yeah, but that's just one thought. I don't know. Then, of course, we're gonna talk about just the match for right now. But whose game is it?
I'm queuing it up. Don't you worry.
We don't have it.
No, this.
Yeah.
So one more time.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh my god, we got no joke. As soon as I played those, or before I played those, we had 2 viewers. I played 3 of those Cups of LA Night. We have 5 now. So okay, let's try.
Yeah.
We didn't get it, but all right, continue. Sarah, with whose game is it?
So we had LA Knight versus Ashanti Adonis. And apparently Hit Row was talking to the crowd, talking some crap to the New Orleans crowd before they went on air. And LA Knight was like, oh, okay, you're going to be doing that? Well, I'm going to make sure that we address it on air because I got some stuff to say. So he came with the fire. He came with the absolute fire. And I have to say, he just gets better and better every single week. Like, you kind of think, we've talked about some of his other promos and we're like, oh, that's like his best one. I think this is like one of his best ones. Cause the one against Logan Paul was great.
Amazing.
This one, so good. And I love how he came out and you could tell he was just so excited in a way, in his own way.
No, yeah, I know what you mean. He was like, the megastar's here.
Yeah, he was excited to be like, let me talk to you, and then he stood there and because he could hear everyone being like, yeah, he like waited before he actually started to get, go in on them. And I was like, I like seeing this. It's one of those things that's kind of like when you don't even have to be a fan, I guess, of somebody, but when you know their history and how long it's taken them to get to this point, it's more exciting, I feel like, to see when this kind of thing happens because LA Knight has been trying to get to be where he is for 20 years. Like, he's been wrestling and trying to do this for 20 years. So now it's just really cool to see, like, he doesn't have to do anything for people to freak out because he's on television or in the arena. So I like to see that he's kind of enjoying it, So
all they need to hear is the automated AI say his name, into his music, and the crowd is gonna go crazy every time. It's
incredible.
It really gives off. And here's the thing that people want to make their Rock and Ozzy comparisons. Yeah, I'm gonna make one in his favor. It legitimately has that feeling and aura of when the Rock's "If You Smell" music would hit and he would come out. It gives off that same energy, but for this era.
Well, and we've been saying this for months, right? Like that he has that old school vibe, and I said it recently too, that I find it so odd that people use it as a dig towards him, because how often do you hear people say they miss the Attitude Era? And then you get a guy who could have fit into the Attitude Era without any sort of issue, and then you have a problem with it and like you shit on him for it. It doesn't make any sense to me, because he's not a copy. Like they're acting like he literally is like a Rock stunt double or something, and it's like that's not the case. So it's just very weird to me. I don't understand it, but it is what it is. So he comes out and he goes straight to Top Dollar, calling him Uncle Phil. And I was just like, oh my God, you hear Michael Cole laughing in the background. I'm just like, Michael Cole's hatred for Top Dollar
is unmatched. It's
a great subplot, like it's a great subplot. And then I love, of course, who's hotter than Top Dollar? A lot. I was like, oh my God.
That was awesome. I laughed out loud when I heard that.
Yeah, that was, I mean, again, it's just like, it's so simple and not over the top, yet it's just entertaining. And then he makes it better, saying, before we went on air, you were saying what, like New Orleans is corny. And he's like, but the way B-Fab is looking at me, it looked like she is horny. Yeah. And then I was like, okay, so I saw that. I saw the clip of it on Twitter when it happened, because mind you, I am on the West Coast.
Yeah, you're on a little bit of a delay.
Right. So when I saw that, I was dying. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe they let him say this. So I was thinking it was going to be bleeped or something. Not because it's like, it's not a curse word.
It's Fox.
It's not really PG.
It's Fox.
Yeah.
It's Spike TV.
But it wasn't bleeped. So I was like, you know what? This is what I'm here for. So then I love how he's like, but business before pleasure. And I was like, oh, sir, calm down, sir.
You were touching that. You're swooning right now.
Yeah, I know. I was like, yeah. Okay.
You were like, yeah.
Okay. All right. So obviously it was a quick win for him. We kind of, I mean, I don't care. I don't care that it was quick.
Don't give a fuck. Don't give a flying fuck that this man won in like 5 minutes. He did everything he had to. He did, and you know what it is too? He didn't even do everything, but everyone got something in that. Even Uncle Phil Top Dollar got in a spot where he hit him, gave him a little elbow on the side, and then all he had to do, Adonis gets in maybe like 1 or 2 moves to show off that he's not a jobber.
Right.
You have LA Knight come in, him do his own version of the People's Elbow.
Yep.
Which, when you the only thing going through my mind when I watch that back in my head is the crowd, how he just points, and the crowd deafening LA Knight, and then as he's going into the ropes, you hear them all go erupt and say, there's no one that's where he is on the card, and even a little bit above too, that are getting the reactions that he's getting. It's unbelievable.
It is. And what's funny too about the pointing thing is he kind of started to do that, but when like the announcers were introducing him, but then there was just like one day where he just started to see if the crowd was going to do it, like if he just pointed, and they picked up on it like that, which is crazy, because even if you want to compare it to another heavily audience involved segment, it would be Seth's singing of his song, right? it's still to this day, there are crowds that don't understand when he's standing in the ring and, you know, in the middle of the ring and going like this. They don't pick up on it fast enough that they're supposed to start singing his song. And the fact that LA Knight was able to do that so quickly and that they still do it just shows you how over he is and how well liked he is, because it's not easy to hold the crowd in the palm of your hand without being forced, I guess, down people's throats or whatever, because, you know, he's not getting a John Cena push. He's not getting a Rock push. He's not getting a Roman push. You know, it's like he's had to scratch and claw his way to where he is. So it's cool. And I'm glad that we like jumped on the LA Knight fan train before a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm so happy that I have the eye for talent, and pairing with you, obviously, Sarah, seeing that you also have that eye as well. I mean, it was the first time when I saw him in NXT, I went, oh, this dude's got something. And then I follow a lot of people too, that when he was even being, you know, pushed or whatever you want to call it, as Max Dupree, like I was like, he's too good for this.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot about him, but this is not his role. And then you see people tweeting and all these stuff. And then I remember his NWA promo with the shoe. I don't know it off the top of my head, but that shoe promo where he like messed up the line, but still going. And he's got a bottle of champagne. If you can do that and be that entertaining on that level, you got something. And I don't give a fuck what your age is. You should be in the WWE doing this, and it's just nice that he's finally getting his flowers. Let's say.
I know, and it's and it's just kind of cool to see it all happen like in front of you. You know, like just to see someone get over so organically. I don't know. I just think it's cool when someone has put so much time and effort into making something happen, and then something great like this just happens naturally. And you're able to witness it, you know? I mean, I've talked about it even with like Cody Rhodes, that I always believed that he could be this version of Cody Rhodes, even when he was dashing and people thought it was so cringy and people were questioning the gimmick and whatever. And I was like, no, I know he could be a top guy. And so it's cool to see, you know, the trajectory of his career and the fact that he's now like on top of the world. So yeah, shout out LA Knight, but we'll get to talk about him again
a little bit more. Yeah.
Yes.
No, I'm good.
So I'm gonna talk about the Bianca Charlotte team up. So we see Bianca being interviewed backstage, and of course she is interrupted by Queens Chelsea and Sonya, because we do love them here. Chelsea and Sonya brag about how they are the newest women's tag team champions, but say it's terrible because it's been 10 days since they won and they haven't even had a celebration. Everything has been about Bianca and Charlotte. And I'm like, girls, are you in my brain? Are you in my brain right now? Because that's what I've been saying for weeks. And then Charlotte rolls up and is just like, hey Bianca, maybe we should just like team up against these girls. What do you say? And Bianca is like, absolutely not, you psycho. And then Charlotte's like, now I want to make it happen more than I did, so I'm gonna go set it up. Bye. And then Bianca chases her like, what are you doing, you dumb idiot? And then it ends up happening. So we get
classic WWE.
Yeah, Bianca and Charlotte versus Chelsea and Sonya. And this is, you know, we have differing opinions on this, I believe, from what we discussed earlier. So I am one with the internet in this until I guess I hear what you have to say about it. But I felt like, other than the fact that there was really no reason for Bianca and Charlotte to win this match against the newly crowned women's tag team champions, it just felt like this wasn't a match that needed to happen at all. I understand the whole dynamic of like, let's see if they can work together. You know, these enemies that are going to be facing off for each other. I mean, it's a classic WWE move. I mean, we've seen it time and time again. So I get it. I get that. The problem is, I don't like it in this scenario because they just crowned Chelsea and Sonya new tag team champions. The women's tag team division is an utter mess right now, and they're trying to make it legitimate and get it out of the gutter. Hence, we're still talking about Naomi and Sasha walking out because of it. And I don't know that the best way to go about that is by squashing the champions that have been champion for a week and a half. I didn't know if that was the best move. But I just didn't feel like it was helping Charlotte and Bianca, and it certainly did not help Chelsea and Sonya. So it just seemed pointless to me.
To me, it's a moo match, a moo point. Kyle's opinion doesn't matter. So, but if you're going to have it, and it's because you want to kind of kill two birds with one stone by having the women's title, challengers on screen, you got to get the women's tag team champions on screen, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an easy way to get them on. Okay, so we get that point. When it comes to the match itself and who won, in WWE, wins and losses don't matter. It's all about how it's done.
See, and I don't agree, but
I mean, it is. It's a fact that has been kind of out of Vince McMahon's mouth, that it just doesn't matter. It's all about how it's done. I know it does. It matters to me. So
no, it matters to the fans because, like I said, my example last week is you can't say wins and losses don't matter when Kurt Hawkins was on this crazy long losing streak, and then you couldn't just bring him up on Raw and have him become champion after having 150 losses. That's what I mean. It does matter to an extent, unless you are John Cena. You know what I'm saying? There are people that it doesn't matter, but in other ways, I agree with
that point. So, but when you have them in a match together right now, okay, and you look at, we'll say the levels, I think is a good word for it, the levels that these four women are on, you need to legitimize this feud or legitimize whatever this love triangle for the title is with Bianca, Charlotte, and Asuka. They would beat Chelsea Green and Sonya anyway. So that's the logical. So, and it doesn't matter for them to lose because you can turn that, because they're heels, technically, you can turn that into a backstage thing or part of their promo, whatever, where they have to say that they faced the women's champion challengers or something, and that was unfair because they weren't a real tag team. You can go full Karen with it because that's in their heels, and because the fans actually love that right now. They're very they're half-ass over. It's actually a good thing to have them complain about that shit, because then it also aligns where, oh man, they're really online and are really reading the fans' reactions and stuff, when in reality it's just you're steering into the skid with what would happen if you were in that situation regardless. So I think the whole thing of them going nuts about it in the IWC, I don't care, because to me it doesn't ruin my view on them two as champions. It doesn't be like, oh, they already lost, they suck, that's what they're doing. No, they're just putting over Bianca and Charlotte's feud with feud for the title against Asuka. So, and Chelsea, they have other plans for it, but they were on television. That's what they want. So
yeah. Well, I think
kind of my view went.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that, and the explanation certainly makes sense. I think that it could have been a little bit better if you didn't want people to complain had it ended in a DQ or something. Maybe Asuka should have gotten involved and had them lose via DQ, and then people wouldn't have, because we'll get to the whole Asuka thing in a second, but that would have reminded you that Asuka is involved, and that would have been okay, no, it makes sense, because the ending of it was questionable to be okay, Bianca was going to win with the KOD, but then Charlotte was like, honey, I'm gonna come over here and do this, and it's of course you would. And so she needed to make sure that she was the one who won. So it's okay, we get that dynamic, but ending it in a DQ wouldn't have hurt anybody. So it would have been the way to get people to not have such a intense reaction one way or the other.
Have a
if that
lot
makes
of
sense.
matches ended in a DQ recently?
Yeah. So
They
I don't
have?
know.
Okay, I'm just more because I'm just trying to do my own little data research, whatever in my head about it. But yeah, okay, interesting.
So then we see, so we're continuing with the women's division.
That's right. Let's talk more women.
Yeah, after the match, we see Bailey and Io in the back, and it appears that they are still going with this whole Shotzi thing, who has not been seen since. I mean, I don't know the last time she
I
was
think
on
she just got
SmackDown.
engaged, so they gave her time off. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, she's doing whatever. I don't know. I don't follow her, but I just mean she's been gone for a while. But obviously, they like her enough because they're keeping her relevant on TV. So Bailey and Io are bickering backstage because Bailey abandoned Io last week, but she was like, well, Shotzi found me and I got scared, so I need to get out. And then as she's going through her stuff, she finds this like creepy letter with magazine letters pasted on it in her backpack with locks of Shotzi's hair. So
That's awesome.
she's all freaked out. And they're trying to run away out of the locker room because they're like, oh my God, where is she? Like, she could see us. Oh my God. And then Asuka rolls up, being her just like cute self. I'm just like, oh my God, I can't with her.
She's adorable.
Like, she really
is when she's no makeup and not that like, vicious wrestler.
Yeah,
when
she's
on
so
the
cute.
pantsuit and whatever. She's adorable. I love Asuka.
So she rolls up and she talks about how she has to face, the best ever with Charlotte and Bianca. And she warns Io Sky, like, hey, if you even think about cashing in at SummerSlam, you are going to regret it. And Io is like, you know what? I don't even care who wins that match because I am leaving SummerSlam as the champion. So I was like, okay, I like this. I like this because I do think that Asuka needs to win. And I was very happy to see that a lot of people on Twitter are saying Asuka should win. So I was like, okay, so this is like a general thing for everybody. But this did bring up a huge point, I would say, is why is Asuka feeling like the third wheel in a feud for her title? That is why I said when we were just talking about the Bianca, Charlotte, Chelsea, Sonya match, it would have been great to have had Asuka involved in some way to remind everybody that the reason why Charlotte and Bianca are feuding is because they both want the championship, which happens to be held by Asuka. So I'm not digging that aspect of this rivalry.
I have a question. Do you think that they're not having Asuka be the center of this feud between Bianca and Charlotte is because if you did it, with one of them being the main feud or both of them being the main feud with Asuka, it would kind of take away from the fact that after this triple threat and say, because Asuka's going to retain, or Io's going to cash in, like whatever.
Yeah.
What? You don't think
I'm not 100% sure. I really don't know. We have to remember Charlotte is in the match.
Yeah, but then what if she loses because of Bianca or something? Then that can lead to Bianca and Charlotte feud for months, which honestly is probably the best avenue for both those women, and especially with what we're going to talk about in a little bit with some of her acquaintances, we'll say.
Yes, yeah.
It's a very interesting dynamic that, yeah, it might be a Becky and Trish situation where like, how long can this thing go for? But because of, I would say, the amount of range that both of them have, with the in-ring stuff, the backstage stuff, the promos, you could have this be like a legit feud until like Survivor Series.
Well, I think that's the most ideal scenario for most people would be for Asuka to walk out champion, because I think nothing against Bianca, but she was just champion for over a year, and people are sick of Charlotte being champion constantly, even if it is, just to be cashed in on. It's just ridiculous at this point. And, obviously there was thought, you would think, into the decision to have Asuka take the title off of Bianca. So it doesn't really make any sense to take the title off her so quickly. So I think the ideal scenario is for Asuka to win, and after the triple threat at SummerSlam to have Bianca and Charlotte feud and it not be over the championship. We've talked about how they kind of need to step away from being so integrated into the title picture, because they've both been championed recently and recently or for a long time. So it would be nice to see a change and that be Asuka. Maybe Asuka feuds with Io. Maybe she feuds with Bayley. Something that doesn't involve people who have been constantly champion over the past year. So if that's what happens, that's fine. And I think maybe you're right. Asuka kind of being a third wheel is maybe a sign that the reason why they're having Bianca and Charlotte go after each other so much is because it is setting up for what's going to happen after SummerSlam.
Absolutely.
But I am worried that that's a little bit of wishful thinking. I don't want to convince myself that that's actually what it is.
Because what else are they going to do? This isn't the Vince era where it was predictability. It's, you know, a completely different era right now with it. So I can be more hopeful with it because he's delivered. I mean, this is a year since he's taken over, and last year's SummerSlam, I would say, was probably one of the best SummerSlams in a very long time. SummerSlam might be the pay-per-view now because each four has to have their thing. Okay, each one has to have their own thing about it. So you have Survivor Series transitioning into War Games. Fantastic. You have the Royal Rumble, self-explanatory. WrestleMania, self-explanatory. Raw after Mania, even, I would group in there.
Yeah.
SummerSlam's just the biggest part of the summer, okay? There's no real, like, thing to it. So if you have, you know, big moments like that, or big returns, or, you know, big title changes, you know, passing of torch stuff, like, make that the theme or overarching theme of SummerSlam. And Asuka winning and Io, that's one thing that could spark from it. Bianca losing or Charlotte losing because of, you know, whatever, each other, like some bullshit. Or like you can even include Shotzi in that because Bayley is by Io's side. Like it feels like this will be a very important match for the blossoming of the women's division moving forward.
I hope so. I hope we're not disappointed, you know?
Exactly.
Bernard agrees, though. He says, I feel the same as Sara. If that's the case, Bianca should still be champion. I agree. If the whole point was just to have Asuka be like a placeholder champion, then there was really no point of taking the title off Bianca, who was breaking records for her title reign. That doesn't make any sense.
Exactly.
So moving on. It looks like we're going to be getting the Suit Profits soon.
And this is where I'm leading to, yeah.
I did not come up with that name, by the way. I saw it on Twitter, so please do not give me credit for Suit Profits.
We give credit where credit's due here. With both.
Yeah, I don't remember. I saw it on Twitter.
Find
so
your
shout
belt,
out to you.
Sara.
Huh?
Find your belt. I want to match belts because you're your own champion. All right, of your peeps. I'm the champion of my peeps. What are we doing here?
I don't know. So we see Lashley is all dressed to the nines and he's in a lounge or something with the Street Profits, and Lashley said that he had spoken to Carmelo and Trick last week, which we saw and we thought, oh, is this a tease? But apparently no. At least from this little segment, it looks like no, he was just trying to get some intel on the Street Profits from these guys for, you know, from their time in NXT. And he's like, oh, they had nothing but great things to say. They said you guys are superstars and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, but since you guys are stars, you should be treated as such, but you should also be dressing like you are a star.
You looked at Dawkins and it was so funny.
And he's like, you don't like my suit game, Bobby Franklin? And he's like, no, I do, but you know, like whatever. And he brings in this rack of suits. And so it's like, oh, okay. So that's why we say Suit Profits incoming. I don't know what's going to happen here. I don't know if it's going to just be the Street Profits and Bobby Lashley. I don't know if we are going to get Carmelo and Trick called up. It's going to be this one big thing. I don't know, but I don't care. I am very excited about this. I want to see the Street Profits back on TV. I want Bobby Lashley back on TV. I would love to see different versions of all of them, and I'm intrigued. And I think that's the whole point.
The only thing I am really going to say on it that has any sort of substance, because you can, you know, obviously I agree with everyone and you that this is awesome. Yeah. But to me, that what this shows is that there's an end goal. You know, there's a vision with the Street Profits, because it seems like for a while that they just had no direction. You know, they're
Mm-hmm.
losing in matches where you would expect them to win. They're not on TV in weeks leading up to stuff where you would think they would be. So, like, what's going on? Now that you have Bobby Lashley behind them, and I would say with the resurgence of factions at the moment,
Yeah.
it makes sense. You can't replicate the Hurt Business. That was a one and done. That was amazing, but you can have branches off of it. You know, you can
Yeah.
have its own little like child from it because Bobby is going to make that next step into an MVP type role. You know, Dawkins and Montez are going to do their own thing and flourish as single stars and as a tag team. So to me, all it shows is that it's a vision for the Street Profits, which is all I would say that the peeps want.
Yeah, I'm just curious to see how far they're going to take it. Like, are they going to be super serious now? Are we not? Are we going to see, they use the same gear every week? Are we not going to see the solo cups anymore? Like, how far are they going to take this change? Because, that was a big part of why people love the Street Profits so much. So I am curious because, Lashley isn't known for being that kind of guy.
No, he's not. He's not
So
known. That's why
yeah,
it's interesting. He's getting his own little new gimmick in a way that or
yeah,
new step in his career. I would say.
yeah. So we'll have to see how this transpires over the next couple of weeks. But like I said, I'm intrigued. I am intrigued. Going back to LA Knight, so it looks like most people are assuming that the reason why this SummerSlam Battle Royal was created was simply to get LA Knight on the card, because as of this past Friday, there didn't look like there were any plans for him on this show again, and people were pissed about it because it's like, how do you listen to this crowd every single week and you're just like, yeah, he doesn't need to be on it. Yeah. So if that's true, I have thoughts. So basically what ends up happening is they announce this battle royal, and then we see LA Knight in the back talking to Adam Pearce, being like, you know what, you need to make things right and put me in this battle royal because this whole thing with the United States Championship, but blah 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 blah. And then all of a sudden Sheamus rolls up, and I'm like, can you just leave?
Isn't
Just
there a
leave.
bar you can just go hang out
Yeah,
at with Pete Dunne?
just like go somewhere else. Take your people and just leave. And he's like, you know what, LA Knight, you can't win a battle royal with a
fella.
promo. And I was like, okay. So they go back and forth for a while, and Adam is like, you know what, I'm gonna put you both in the battle royal, but how about you guys face off against each other next week? And then they're just like, okay. And my main thing is, okay, am I looking forward to LA Knight versus Sheamus? Yes.
Yeah,
Do I think LA
I'm
Knight?
actually really, that's gonna be a good match.
I know. I hope LA Knight wins.
Yeah.
But my thoughts on the battle royal are kind of conflicted, as they usually are in this situation. So if it's something that was created to get guys like LA Knight on the show, fine. That's wonderful. I'm glad that they are at least trying to include guys like LA Knight, because it would be absolutely
just
ridiculous.
Like everyone else in the back, get him a payday. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, they made a giant mistake keeping him off Mania. So if this is their way of kind of trying to fix that by putting him on the, basically the Mania of the summer, sure. Okay, cool. I'm glad. The only way that I would be happy about it, though, is if he wins. But the problem is they don't even say that there's any point to winning. Like, that's the thing, is like, it's a pointless match. And if it really is just to get people on TV, you're not giving it any sort of like substance for why anyone should want to win, because it's not like, you get a title match, or you become the number one contender, or you get this, because that's I don't, there's no motivation to win. But also, I really don't want them to introduce some sort of stupid SummerSlam trophy or something, because it'd be like, just don't. So that's why it's like, I'm conflicted. I'm glad that LA Knight is going to be in it and that he's going to be on SummerSlam, but I don't think he needs to win a pointless match. It's just like, I don't know.
Okay, I just came up. I listened to everything. I totally agree with all that. I just came up with a brain blast to have this battle royal mean something and have LA Knight leave SummerSlam US champion. So, all right, let's put the foot down and let me talk to you. So, what's gonna happen?
We need a clip of that, by the way.
We really do. Why don't
I
we?
know.
There's like a few we gotta get. I was
I know.
trying to get some in, but my YouTube converter thing just fucked up. So what's gonna happen is you have to have this match first, or for early in the show for general purposes, and then you have the U.S. title match. We'll say as a cool down match or lead up match into something bigger. And to get the crowd even more hyped for the match after, Austin Theory squashes Santos. I know you're not going to like that, and no one's going to like that, but that match has got to be less than 5 minutes. You have Theory get on the mic and say, I'm sick of this. I don't have real competition for my championship. Every week I'm doing nothing, but whatever he's got to say. And then all of a sudden you just hear L.A. Knight music erupts, okay? And then he comes out and says, let me talk to you. I just threw however many guys over the top rope. And the point is that if you Theory, I kind of missed this point. Theory says, give me someone else to challenge. I want some real competition. And then LA Knight comes out and says, I threw out these many guys. I already won this match. I'm feeling pretty good. I could do another. Yeah. And then does a whole spiel.
Mhm.
LA Knight, they go another 5, maybe even less, because you just want, you know what's going to happen. And then LA Knight pins Theory with the blunt force trauma and becomes U.S. champion.
I mean, I would love it. I wouldn't say no.
That's brilliant. That's fucking brilliant.
And then I guess he could feud with Theory and Santos, I guess.
He
I
could
don't know,
feud with Santos.
Yeah.
He
Well,
could feud with
Theory's
Theory
going to want a
afterwards.
rematch.
He could feud
So.
with Sheamus because they're going to have a match before. You could have him get into a little spat with someone in the Battle Royal, and then he feuds with him. Boom. Those are 4 feuds that he could have with his title. And at this point, you don't want any of those guys to win. So that's 4 feuds. He gets over, and he's legitimized the U.S. Championship. Sarah, we just solved the problem.
I mean, I would love it. Let's hope it happens then.
Yeah.
Then we're going all over the show because, of course, it's SmackDown.
Well,
so the
it's
bloodline is on beginning, middle, and end. So the show starts off with Jay in the ring talking about Jay Uso, main event Jay Uso is in your city. That's what he said, and he sounded just like that.
That was good.
And then Roman is like, oh, hell no. And he comes out with Solo and Paul Heyman. And basically, it's just the same old that we've been hearing, which is great. But, you know, it's just like, okay, we get it. Okay. So Roman is like, I made the Usos. You'd be nothing without me. Blah, blah, blah. Jay, you're crazy to think that you can just be, you know, become the new tribal chief. You didn't even want to be. Jay is like, you know what, Roman? I supported you throughout everything. As tribal chief, I did everything you wanted me to do as your right-hand man because I wanted to. But you broke the bloodline and you broke Jimmy. And that's all on you. It's your fault. Roman then tries to turn it around to blame Jay, blah, blah, blah. Like I said, it's the same stuff that we've already seen. It's the same song and dance, right? Which is fine. It's fine. But this is where things start to get interesting, okay? So Grayson Waller is just backstage, and he just comes up to Jay and is just like, hey, what's up, bro? And he says, you should get in on the Grayson Waller rub after SummerSlam, even if you lose. Like, who cares if you win or lose? And Jay feels disrespected by Mr. Grayson Waller, so he punches him in the face. And I was just like, what a great like if that was it, like cool. But that wasn't it. So then Adam Pearce does approach Jay later and is like, hey, you know, you punched Buddy a little bit ago and he's been begging for a match with you. Okay, can you please just like do it.
Get him
So
off my
he
hair, yeah.
will leave me alone. And Jay's like, all right, I'll make it quick. Who cares? Whatever. So we get to that. That's the main event. Grayson Waller versus Jey Uso. And I'm like, yes, Grayson, what is
Main
going
event
on
Jey
with you?
Uso.
I know. And so Roman and Solo come out with Paul to watch the match. Roman is sitting in the commentator chair with front row seat.
Fucking comfy ass chair.
I know.
Tribal Chief.
And Paul and Solo are standing, and I'm like, you didn't even offer them a seat. So rude.
See, that's what he broke the bloodline. He only thinks of himself.
Yeah. So this was a great match. It wasn't super long, but I loved that we got a people's elbow from Mr. Grayson Waller, and Roman looked very pleased with it. He looked like he was enjoying it.
The most electrifying move in sports entertainment today.
And I love how he changed it too with his like little knee thing that he does, like from the knee to the knee. And Jay ends up winning with a diving splash. And if you didn't catch this, did you see that he says thank you to Waller as he pins him? Did you see that? Did you hear it?
I did not.
He does it again. So shout out to Jay. Shout out to Grayson. But shout out to Jay for being so cool, because like this was a big match for Grayson, because Grayson's been on this like amazing main roster journey ever since he was finally
future.
Since he was
really is
to wrestle. This was the main event of SmackDown against Jey Uso, who is one of the hottest guys in all of WWE right now. And I'm like, Jay thanks him, which is crazy in a way, because it's like Grayson should be thanking you, if anything, it's for like
so insane
allowing me to be your opponent in the main event. But yeah, so I was like, Grayson is killing it right now.
He might be, I would say, one of the top 5 biggest trends in WWE right now, just with who he's gone up against. I mean, John Cena, Edge in Madison Square Garden main eventing, main event Jey Uso, getting himself, intertwined with the bloodline segment a little bit. I mean, he's even going after the real tribal chief in the People's Champ himself, Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, doing he's the man gets it. Okay. And that's why he's so good and viewed as the future of the franchise, because he gets it. Yes, he's a heel and all this shit, but he reminds me a lot of MJF in a way where they're massive wrestling fans and it, and it shows with not only their IQ in the ring, but their attention to detail with things and how they go about, for instance, just an example, how Grayson's going after, tweeting at The Rock and what he's saying about that. Like, he's not just blatantly saying it like some Twitter bot, he's doing it very creatively. And that's why it's so over, is that you could put him in a feud with anyone and it would elevate that feud, because it's just like, what is he going to say next? What is he going to do next?
Well, and in a way, he kind of reminds me of the vibe we get from LA Knight, where it just feels old school to me. And I think that he kind of has that type of vibe to him as well, where it's old school, but like in the new way. Like LA Knight is more old school, like straight attitude era. But I feel like Grayson kind of, obviously his gimmick is more new age, because so much of it is
asshole. Yes.
Right. And so I like that about him. And he's like my latest obsession right now. So, I told you I was jumping on the train of Grayson Waller. So shout out to Grayson Waller, if I could.
The Grayson Waller effect.
Yes. So I'm interested to see what they're going to do with him for SummerSlam as well. I'm assuming he's probably going to do the Grayson Waller effect at SummerSlam, but I think that's going to be fine anyway. So after the match.
Oh, we have a comment that Bernard thinks we should be employed by WWE.
Wow. That would be awesome. I don't know that that's going to happen, but that would be.
I got one friend there. He's not in creative or anything. He's in the law department, but I got a peep there.
Oh, I don't know who you're talking about, but.
Oh, it's my buddy from college.
Oh.
It's his birthday today. Shout out Josh. It's his birthday.
Shout out to you, bestie. So then we had Roman and Solo attack Jay after the match, because why wouldn't they? I mean, you don't get a front row seat to this, and then you're just going to let Jay win and just be like, it's cool. I don't care. So Solo tries to attack Jay first, but Jay's like, little bro. And then Roman comes in and tries to hit Jay, and he hits him with a spear. And I was like, okay, Jay.
That was awesome.
Jay then gets hit with a spinning Solo. This is where it got kind of cool. This is where you start to see the teamwork development between Roman and Solo, which I like. So Solo and Roman then hit him with 2 Samoan spikes followed by spears. And I felt like that was a really cool combination of their finishers, because that's not something that I would have thought of. That doesn't seem like finishers that would work together. And what I think is funny, this is the thing that's funny about WWE fans.
What's funny?
We hate Roman. Everyone's like, I hate Roman. He's so mean to the Usos. I'm day one ish, you know?
Yeah.
And then Roman's going, ooh, oh, and everyone's like, yeah! Like, they're going crazy.
I've actually like the amount of times I've actually seen Roman at this point is insane. And every time live when he does the ooh, the crowd does it with him. And it pops me every time. I think it's fucking hilarious.
It's just funny because I'm like, do you guys realize what you're doing, or like who's doing it? Because I thought you were supposed to hate him and be like pro Jay. Like, what is going on here? So
well,
that's
the tribal chief loads
I know.
up. You gotta be with him. That's you gotta acknowledge it.
Yeah, I just think it's
wild.
Funny.
Yeah.
So yeah, Jay is laid out to end SmackDown. Obviously we're gonna see what's gonna happen. We know that they are going to have a match at SummerSlam where Jay is going to lose. But what I also took from this, because of this new tag team-ishness between Roman and Solo, it's gonna be so sweet. It's gonna be so sweet when Solo turns on Roman. It's just gonna be like, I can't wait. Because they're going hardcore with it, which this is what I wanted, because we knew that the Usos went hard for Roman and they got involved in a lot of stuff that they, wouldn't normally have done and whatever. So I like that they're having Solo do more of this, especially against his brothers. I feel like that's just going to drive that point home when he eventually does turn on Roman, and it's just I'm excited about it.
I mean, that's inevitable. I will say the Solo turn.
Yeah.
I don't know. See, my mind's trying to go like, does that mean he's gonna be the tribal chief? Meaning you're right. Does it mean is it just gonna be him siding with Jay? Okay.
Nope. It's because
all right. I don't. I do love the confidence though. We love that confidence.
It's just because I like to be right. So, I just really would like to be one of the earliest people to be like, hey guys, the new tribal chief is going to be Solo Sikoa. Don't even worry about it. I predicted this like forever ago. Don't worry about it. You should have believed me when you had the chance.
Should have been watching.
I mean, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I don't care. But
no, if you're wrong, I mean, that's still a very good prediction to make. It's not like you were like, well, Paul Heyman's the real tribal chief. It's like,
Paul Heyman is going to lay out Roman at WrestleMania 40.
Yeah, it's like, no, it's like you like, so it's like, oh, that would be a very interesting twist to the mix. Absolutely. Yes. That's very intuitive.
Well, and a big reason I think about it too is because we have Jay going against Roman for the title at SummerSlam. Unless something insane happens and makes them take the title off Roman right now, to me, it's like I just don't see it happening again, however many months down the road. I think it's going to be Solo. So, and I just want to be like, hey guys, I am Queen Sikoa right here. Queen Sikoa. I know I shouldn't say that. He's married now. She's Queen Sikoa. I'm Princess Sikoa. I don't know. He's younger than me. I can't, I'm just saying I'm the queen of Sikoa predictions, I guess.
I think Solo may turn on Roman after WrestleMania. That would make sense. I think that's the latest you can do it.
Yeah, it's crazy though. Like, I can't predict when it's going to happen. I just think that Solo is going to turn on Roman and that Solo is probably going to be the one that dethrones him. But don't ask me when it's going to happen, because this story changes from week to week. I couldn't tell you. I think that they will try to draw it out until SummerSlam, but at this point, I don't know how they could do that. Um,
I don't either.
so I almost feel like Solo might have to turn on him before WrestleMania, and maybe that's their match. Solo versus Roman at WrestleMania.
That would be.
Maybe
I'd
they
see
have
that.
Paul in their corner too. I don't know. But
You
I'm
need
excited.
you need to have The Rock come back for that match, and have it be set up with whatever Solo did, or if he turned on him. Why did Solo do
I
it?
did it for The Rock.
I did it for The Rock, and
If
then
I
you
could
just
be,
hear,
he would
it,
say, if I could be serious for a moment,
"Oh man, if that man came back,
I did it for The Rock.
I did
No, I'm
it."
saying Solo would say that. I'm not
Oh,
saying
all
Lance
right.
Storm comes back and he's like, wait a second. Like,
Dude,
he's not.
I'm sorry. Every time I hear "Can I be serious for a minute?" I just
That's
immediately
why
think
I
of,
said it. I was making a
"Oh,
joke.
thank you. Sorry."
What does everybody want? What does
What
everybody
everybody
need?
need?
Why are 10-year-olds, boys and girls screaming this? I don't.
You know how long it took me, because I've been a fan since like 3. I didn't know what that was until like, I think maybe college.
I didn't know what it. I didn't understand what it meant either. And I
Oh
mean,
my
he kind of
god.
freaked me out though. He freaked me out as a kid because I was like, why is he bringing around a dummy head? Well, I don't know. He's
Do you
scary.
do you know the story about how they had an action figure of his, and it had the head in it, but I forget what store specifically, but they made them take down the action figures and recall them because they thought it was promoting murder, because it was like a human head,
Oh
when
my
it
god.
was like, they didn't get that it was a mannequin. Like, it's nothing to do with like,
Well, yeah, because there's no blood. It's literally a
there was no
mannequin.
blood. It's a
Maybe
mannequin.
they
Like,
just maybe they did too good of a job of making the head look real rather than looking like a mannequin.
yeah, that's well, no, I saw the toy. It's not that good.
Do you
But they
remember?
talk, yeah.
Do you remember KB Toys?
Absolutely remember
Oh
KB
my god.
Toys.
Do you know how sad it is that there's like no legit toy stores
It
anymore?
is sad. It really is sad, because I remember going on the weekends to like KB Toys, Toys R Us, and whatever money I just had from whatever, or if my
Yeah.
parents wanted to get me a gift,
Mhm.
I would get an action figure from one of those or two, and it would be the greatest day because I knew that I was gonna go home and put on like a match with them, and it was just, oh,
You're
I remember.
familiar with the Independence Mall in Kingston, right?
That's where I got a lot of my toys. Yeah,
Okay.
that action figure store, yes.
At that toy store, at that Toys R Us. Remember there was one right next to the mall?
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
So
I
that's the
thought
one
you
that
meant that.
that's the one that we would go to. And then uh by my grandparents' house, there was a Stop and Shop, but then next to this, well, connected to the Stop and Shop, basically, it was like a strip mall. And I remember I got so excited because they put a KB Toy Works in there, and I was like, oh
Ooh.
my god! And that's where I actually got my Stone Cold. No, that's where I got my Rock and Lita action figures. So I'm like, it is really lame. Like they do have Toys R Us at Macy's, but it's pretty
That's
lame.
not, no, do you, but
Um,
it's a Independence Mall in Kingston, they had like an action figure store, right?
but when? Because you have to remember I moved in 2003. So
Oh, you moved in 2003.
yeah,
Oh, never mind then, because yeah, this was definitely
after that.
after 2003. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I lived there, that Toys R Us was like next to the mall, but like in a different way. But that was why we would stop there because we would go to the mall or we'd go to Toys R Us first and then drive over to the mall. But
I remember just going and get action figures, and like the thing was, I didn't just stop myself at WWE. I mean, you saw that action figure stream that we did, whatever. I mean, I had TNA figures and
yeah,
the TNA guys, and I liked how those two, because they were different and they felt like, I don't know, for people who actually played with them and didn't just put them in a box,
yeah,
it was a lot easier to do like moves and crazy things, and
mm,
really get into, the match and whatnot. So I just love that.
yeah,
I read, it's just, God, I if I could go back and, like they have those questions like, oh, if you go back in the period, if I could just have like an hour, maybe like a couple hours, I mean, to go back to like relive playing with those action figures and making those matches. Cause like, it's not just me sitting here and like playing with whatever. Like I went full, we had like an entrance ramp, LimeWire supplied the music and entrance
Mhm.
themes of people. I mean, and I also had like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles set, like a castle thing or whatever. And I was really ahead of my time and would do our own little cinematic matches in that stuff. Like, oh, it was a great way to just really use your imagination and just let your imagination run wild. And there's just not a lot of, I would say, avenues now to just have
Yeah,
that with how the world is. I mean, you
I
don't see
agree.
kids grab action figures or dolls like they did anymore. And if it's
Yeah.
their American Girl doll, the American Girl doll, you can scan a QR code on her dress, and then you go back to you're looking at your screens and not really like using your
Yeah.
imagination because they
Yeah.
did it for you.
Yeah.
That's just my little
Well, that's a
quarrel.
good thing about like my nephew is he gets like, iPad time.
I've had time.
But no, he's very much into like building with Legos and making things. Like right now we're making a big house
Oh,
for
that's cool.
he plays with his sea animals, and we play with bugs and dinosaurs, and the
Yeah, like,
dinosaurs the other day were just eating bugs. So like
that's awesome though, because he's actually using his imagination and not,
yes. And that's something that I know we need to end this, but that's something that kids just like do all automatically, because there was time where he didn't do that, and then one day he just started being like blah 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 blah, and I was like, where the hell did this come from? But it's just like a natural thing that kids do. So
it's awesome.
anyway,
It's awesome. Oh, thank you guys for tuning in to this edition of the SmackDown Breakdown, part of Pits and Sara's Wrestling Show, where we take no nights off. And if you want more of this stuff, all right, all you gotta do is go in the archives. You don't have the hour, 6 minutes, and 50 seconds to tune in for the entire thing.
we have over 700 videos now.
Oh man, thank you,
Over
Bernard.
700.
That's wild. Like,
I
I
know.
mean, look at the work that we're putting in. Go support it and go check out those archives because we put up a lot of stuff. If you actually want to know how long Sara has been hoping Solo is the next tribal chief, you can actually go back because we have record of it in the archives. Go check that out.
Somewhere.
Sara Marshall. It's somewhere. You do the work. We already put enough work to get it up there. At Sara Marshall XO on YouTube. Go subscribe. And then the other links for our other social medias are in the description. Leave a comment as well. Tell your peeps, okay, about this. This is, because we love all wrestling fans. We love all peeps. I'm the champ. Champ loves his peeps. And I just want to give you guys and entertain you with the best content possible. And we do that here. So thank you guys for tuning into this edition of the show. God bless. Remember that you can do it. All you got to do is try. We will see you Tuesday.